طيب، بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبع هداه. أما بعد. So last week we spoke about خليها بعيد أخي معلش لأنه آخر مرة كانت too close. Last week we spoke about the إدغام بغنة, which is the إدغام with غنة. And today we're going to speak about the second part of the idgham. So we have the idgham, and underneath the idgham we have two parts. The first part is the idgham with the ghunnah, and the second part is the idgham without the ghunnah. All right? إدغام بغير غنة or إدغام بدون غنة, which means the إدغام without the غنة. Alright? And this rule, and remember we are still talking about the noon sakin and tanween, right? This is the second rule. The إدغام is the second rule of the noon sakin and tanween. The first rule was the إظهار, and then we have the إدغام, and the إدغام is divided into two parts. So we spoke about the first part last week, and this is the second part, the إدغام بغير غنة or بدون غنة, which is without غنة. And with each rule we have a set of letters, right? So in the إظهار we had the hamza and the ha and the ha and the ghain and the kha, right? The 6 letters. And in the إدغام with the غنة last week we had 4 letters, the ya, the noon, and the mim and the waw, right? So today we're going to be talking about 2 letters, which is much simpler today. 2 letters. The lam and the ra. The lam and the ra. Salam. And last week I asked a question, something that we were supposed to do research. About the 4 letters of, or the 4 words that are an exception to the idgham with the ghunnah. Did anybody find the 4 words? Alaikum salam. Somebody wants to volunteer?
Salwan, Inwan, Dunya, and Bunya.
Jazakallah khair. Anybody else found the 4 words? What did we say about these 4 words?
No idgham.
There's no idgham. Alright. So these 4 words, let's take as an example before we come back to this idgham without the sunnah. The word قنوان. This word, the word قنوان, has a noon sakina followed by a waw, and the waw is one of the letters of the idgham with the ghunnah. So we were supposed to have idgham with the ghunnah here, except that we said there are 4 words in the Quran that are an exception to the idgham, which means that the idgham in the Quran, at least, does not happen within a word. So you either remember, we said last week that you either remember that the idgham doesn't happen within a word, or you remember that we have 4 words in the Quran that are an exception to the idgham, which means that here, in this case, we have a noon sakina followed by waw, and a waw is one of the letters of idgham with ghunna. We were supposed to do idgham, but we didn't because this word is one of the exceptions. There are no other words except these the four words in the Quran. But outside the Quran, you will find words that have one of the letters of idgham after the noon. Outside the Quran, you have many other words. But in the Quran, you only have 4 words that have this situation here. A noon sakina followed by one of the letters of idgham with the ghunna. So here, we pronounce it normally. We say qinwa. Because if somebody mistakenly applies idgham here, he would say qiwa, which if we hear it, we don't know what word it is, because we are not supposed to do idgham here. So here, it is pronounced qinwan. And the other words are bunyan, sanwan, and dunya. So you either remember the 4 words, or remember that the idgham does not happen within a word. The idgham does not happen within a word. Alright, so we go back to the idgham without a ghunna. So in the idgham without a ghunna, we have 2 letters, the lam and the ra. So whenever we have a noon sakina or tanween followed by a lam or a ra, then we have the idgham without a ghunna. What is the idgham without a ghunna? It's similar to the idgham with the ghunna, except that there is no ghunna. When we say there is no ghunna, what else are we assuming?
It's only one haraka.
It's only one haraka, right? Because they go hand in hand. We mentioned last week that the ghunna is a consequence of us making it long, making the idgham long. And as a consequence, there is a ghunna that develops. So because here we are not going to make it as long, there will be no ghunna. Right? So if we would compare, or before we start comparing, let's give maybe 2-3 examples. I'm going to erase this because it's not there today. Let's take 2 examples or 3 examples. First example with a noon sakina. Anybody wants to give us an example with the noon sakina?
الراء مستغنى.
Okay. An, first word is an, and the second word is ra'ahu. Right? So we have a noon sakina followed by a ra, the letter ra. And the letter ra is one of the letters of the idgham بغير غنة. So we confirm that we have idgham without a ghunna. So here, similarly to what we did in the idgham with the ghunna, we are trying to incorporate the noon sakina into the next letter. So we shouldn't say an ra'ahu. We shouldn't say an. We'll be saying ar. As if there is no noon at all. So as if we are doing this. So this is how we are pronouncing this 2 words. So instead of saying an, we are saying ar. We are jumping straight from the hamza to the ra. Ar, not an. Another example would be, let's say with the tanween. I'm just going to move this here. So this is a popular sentence, right? And we hear it in the adhan as well. We have a tanween followed by a ra again, and the ra is one of the letters of the idgham without a gunna. So here, instead of saying Muhammadan, because if I say Muhammadan, then I pronounce the noon that's heard in the tanween when I say Muhammadan. But instead, I'm going to be saying Muhammadar Rasulullah. Right? It is as if we have something like this. So it is as if we have something like this. The dal with the fatha and then a ra. And you notice I am putting a shadda here because you're going to be putting an emphasis on it. I shouldn't have put it here. I did put it here as well. Because they will be the ra will be pronounced as if there is a shadda on it, right? But that doesn't mean that I'm going to make it long. You remember in the idgham with the gunna, the timing for it was 2 haraka. That means it was long. And this one is just 1 haraka. It is as if I'm pronouncing a single letter. But this ra is more emphasized, so it has a shadda on it. It is pronounced with the shadda. So I'm saying Muhammadar Rasulullah. But here, the word Rasul doesn't have a shadda, right? Initially, if I'm saying the word Rasul, I'm saying Rasul. The ra doesn't have a shadda. We never start a word with a shadda. But here, when I'm joining Muhammad or Muhammadan with the word Rasul, then I'm doing this. I'm dropping one of the harakatain here, one of the fathatain, and jumping straight to the ra. Muhammadar. Let's give a couple examples with the lam, because it may be a little bit different in the way we pronounce it. Yes, Musa.
Would this be an idgham? يوم يقوم الروح والملائكة صفا.
All right, Jazakallah khair. Yeah, it is an idgham. Let me write it down here. So the first word is safa, and the second word is la, and of course you continue the sentence. So here we have a tanween. Followed by, it just so happened that it's the same kind of tanween, but it's okay, we can give another example later on. So we have a tanween followed by, this time, a lam. And the lam is one of the letters of the idgham without the gunna. So we confirm that this is an idgham without the gunna. So instead of saying saffan, I'm saying saffal. Right? Saffalla. So this is how I am pronouncing it. So I'm saying saffalla. Let me give an example here with the lam. جميع لما. This is a tanween dhamma this time, a little bit different, followed by the lam. As we said earlier, the lam is obviously one of the letters of the idgham without the ghunnah. So here we say, instead of saying jami'ul, we say jami'ul, jami'ul, jami'ul lamma. One more example. Let's give an example of a noon sakina with the lam.
أن لن نجمع عظام.
طيب. All right. Okay, here we have a noon sakina. This is the first word, followed by a lam again, and the lam is one of the letters of the idgham without a ghunnah. So instead of saying an, we'll be saying al, al, as if the noon is not there, right? As if this noon doesn't exist. So I'm jumping straight from the hamza to the lam, as if the noon does not exist. All right? Is it clear? Before we start comparing now, we need to compare this stuff with the idgham, with the ghunnah and the idhar. Any questions? All right. Let's compare now. Let's compare the idgham without the ghunnah with the idgham with the ghunnah that we took last week. What can we say? What are the differences? Let's start with the differences, and then we can talk about what they have in common. Unless you want to start with what they have in common. Different huruf. Yes. Do you agree with him? All right. Different huruf, different letters. In the idgham, in this case, the idgham without the ghunnah, we have the lam and the ra. And in the idgham with the ghunnah, we have the ya, the noon, the mim, and the waw. Right? So this is different. The first difference, yes.
One harak on harakatan.
All right. The timing for this one is just one haraka. And for the idgham with the ghunnah that we took last week is two haraka. So it is longer. This one is shorter, as short as pronouncing one letter. That's the second difference. What else can we say? Yes, brother Abu. The ghunnah, yes. This one, obviously, as the name implies, doesn't have a ghunnah, and the other one has a ghunnah. The idgham with the ghunnah has a ghunnah. Anything else? Any other differences? We're still talking about the differences. The other difference is the number of letters. Right? It is too obvious. The number of letters is different. In this one, it's 2 letters. The other one has 4. Right? Anything else? Something that is maybe a little bit more advanced. I mean, it's not very important for a person to know this, but in this type of idgham, the noon completely disappears. It disappears completely. But in the other one, in the idgham with the ghunnah, there is still a little bit of hint of noon, even when doing the idgham with the ghunnah.
Is that the noon or is that the tanween, the ghunnah, the hint?
Well, because the ghunnah is one of the sifat, one of the characteristic of the noon. So if there is a gunna there, that means there is a little bit of noon still there. It didn't disappear completely. But here, because we don't have a gunna, the noon completely disappears. Right? And they call it, in some books you will find that they call it idgham kamil, because the noon completely disappears. This is not very important to know, but as long as you know how to apply it, how to apply the idgham with gunna or without gunna. All right, what do they have in common? The idgham without the gunna and the idgham with the gunna. What do they have in common? The name. They have the name in common. It's idgham. They are both idghams. And yes, brother.
They both apply when there's a noon sakina or tanween.
Jazakallah khair. They both apply when we have a noon sakina or a tanween. Yes.
Join two words, the idgham. It means join two words, so it's like a connection between two words.
Yeah, that's what the idgham means. Basically, you are connecting one word to another. And that also means that, as we said, this for the idgham with the gunna, the idgham only applies when we have two words. When we have two words, it doesn't apply within a word. That means if we have a noon sakina followed by a lam or a ra in the same word, the idgham doesn't apply to it. So it only applies when we have two words. So this is also something in common between the idgham without the gunna and the idgham with the gunna. Is there anything else you want to mention? Something in common? All right. So if you are reading and I'm asking you what the rule is, you have to specify what idgham it is. So if you tell me it is idgham, it may be correct, but what kind of idgham? You have to specify what kind of idgham it is. Right? Now let's compare the idgham with the idhar. Let's compare the idgham with the idhar. What are the differences? Yes, Musab.
In idhar you hear the noon.
In the idhar you hear the noon. That's correct. That's the first difference. Yes,
They
Yahya.
have different letters.
Jazakallah khair. You remember the letters? They have different letters. You remember the letters?
Hamza, Ha, Ain, Ghain, Ha, Kha.
And these are the letters of what?
Idhar,
Idhar. What about the letters of idgham?
Ya, Noon, Mim, and Waw. Lam and Ra.
MashaAllah, with a little help. Yes, that's correct. So the letters of, as you heard him, letters of idhar are different from the letters of idgham. And the letters of idgham, they are actually grouped in a word. And this word that was mentioned by Brother Yusuf a couple of weeks ago or more is yarmalun. The word is yarmalun. This word groups all the letters of idgham. So all the letters of idgham are grouped in this word. It's just a word that makes it easy to remember what the letters are. The letters of idgham. Right? All the letters are grouped here. So we said the letters are different. What else is different between the idgham and the idhar? We said the idhar, the noon is pronounced contrary to the idgham, and then the letters are different. What is also different between the two? Yes.
Idhar can occur in the middle of a word, whereas the idgham must be two separate words.
All right, Jazakallah khair. The idhar happens within a word, contrary to the idgham. The idgham never happens within a word. It has to be two separate words. All right. So, what do they have in common? They have the number of letters is the same. They have six letters. So the number of letters is the same. The letters are different, but the number of letters is the same. What else?
They are related to Noon Sakina and
Say again, Balhan?
They are related to Noon Sakina and Tanween.
Jazakallah khair. They are related to the Noon Sakina and Tanween. They both apply to the Noon Sakina and Tanween. This is something in common. You could also say that, of course, some of the differences also, if we go back a little bit, is the timing. Right?
It could be common or different.
Yes, yeah, it's part common, part different. It's common in the idgham with the ghunna, without the ghunna, because it has one haraka. It's the same as the idhar, but in the idgham with the ghunna, it's different because it has two haraka, but the idhar has one. Right? What else is in common? What is in common also is that similarly to the timing, the issue of does it happen in one word or two words? So what is common is that it does happen in two words. The idhar happens in two words, and the idgham also happens in two words. So that is something in common. But what is different is that it doesn't happen within a word in the case of idgham, but it does happen within a word in the idhar. Is it clear? So it's also like two parts. They have something in common and something that's not in common. Was there anything else that we missed?
Both are ahkam tajweed.
Both are rules of tajweed. All right. Good one. MashaAllah. Anything else? Anything else? All right. So we're going to start reading like we did last week. We're going to start reading and try to determine what is what, right? And try to apply what we learned just now in the when we are reciting. The common mistake, I often mention the common mistake here. The common mistake here, and it's quite widespread. You will find it pretty much everywhere, in every country, in every reciter, or everyone who is learning to recite, is that they will make the timing of the idgham without the ghunna too long. Especially when you learn the idgham with the ghunna, and you're trying to do two haraka there, or maybe more than two haraka, and then this comes after it, you will tend to make it longer. But actually this one is just one haraka. When I say Muhammadan Rasulullah, I don't say Muhammadan Rasulullah. And then here, I don't say Ar-Ra'ahu. I say Ar-Ra'ahu. And here, I don't say Saffalla. It may sound nice. Maybe nobody will notice that you read it wrong. But the correct way of saying it is Saffalla. Saffalla. And then here, I don't say Jami'ul Lamma. I say Jami'ul Lamma. And here, I say Allan. I don't say Allan. This is a common mistake. So when I say a common mistake, that means you have to make an effort to try to avoid this mistake. All right? Brother Adel, you're here. All right, today, congratulations. You are number 15 today.
Oh, okay.
Allahu Akbar, Brother Adel. All right, Brother Adel, we'll start with you. And we are still reading from Al-Ghashiyah, 8 to 16, right? 1 to 16. Yes, sorry. 1 to 16, yes.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هل أتاك حديث الغاشية وجوه يومئذ خاشعة عاملة ناصبة تصلى نارا حامية تسقى من عين آنية ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية في جنة عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية فيها عين جارية فيها سرر مرفوعة وأكواب موضوعة ونمارق مصفوفة وزرابي مبثوثة.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Adil. The question for you is ayah number 15. The word masfufa. What is the rule in the word masfufa?
If you continue to the next ayah, there is the tanween following with the wow. مصفوفة. It's إدغام بغنة.
MashaAllah, do you agree with him? Anybody doesn't agree?
Not the exact wording you wanted.
Not the exact wording. What is the exact wording?
So in case of continuation, masfufa has a tanween بالضم followed by waw. Waw is from the ahruf of idgham al-ghunna. So we have idgham bi-ghunna.
What did he miss?
He missed that waw is one of the ahruf of idgham bi-ghunna.
All right. So you have a slight correction here, which is true. You have to mention that the waw is one of the letters of the idgham with a ghunna.
He said tanween without tanween dhamm.
Well, you don't have, you can minus that what kind of tanween it is. It's enough to say it's a tanween, because it doesn't matter what kind of tanween it is. In this case, in the case of nun sakina and tanween, it doesn't matter what kind of tanween it is. If it is a kasra or dhamma or fatha, it doesn't matter, so we don't have to mention it. Similarly, we don't have to mention if it is at the end of the word, like I mentioned last time, because the tanween is always at the end of the word. All right? Jazakallah khair. Brother Abdullah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هل أتاك حديث الغاشية وجوه يومئذ خاشعة عاملة ناصبة تصلى نارا حامية تسقى من عين آنية ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية في جنة عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية فيها عين جارية فيها سرر مرفوعة وأكواب موضوعة ونمارق مصفوفة وزرابي مبثوثة.
Jazakallah khair. Abdullah, question for you is ayah number 6, the word min. Ayah number 6, the word min. What is the rule in the word min?
من في الإظهار.
It's idhar. All right, Jazakallah khair. Do you agree with him? You want to change?
Yeah. No, I don't want to change. Like it's إظهار, and because ضاء is not from ضاء is not from أحرف No, I just missed it.
You want to change your mind?
No, I'm not changing my mind. It's إظهار.
It's idhar. You sure it's idhar? All right, you agree with him? You don't agree? Who agrees with him? You're by yourself. So who wants to answer the question? Yahya.
There's no idgham or no idgham bi-ghunna.
What's the proof?
Well, there's a dog.
That looks nice.
That's not only the letters of idgham or idgham bi-ghunna or without ghunna.
All right, that's not bad. So I'll give you a small gift for almost perfect answer. This is only for small kids. I don't have for adults. So the complete answer, is that first you have to mention that we have noon sakina. In the word min, we have a noon sakina. You have to confirm that are we dealing with noon sakina or tanween. So we have a noon sakina followed by the letter da. And the letter da is not one of the letters of idhar. And it is not one of the letters of idgham. No need to specify which kind of idgham. You can just say that idgham. It's not one of these 6 letters here, yarmalun. Then, conclusion, it's not idhar and it's not idgham.
But تظهر.
No. This is the thing. Yes. Yes. So it's not idhar. You said it's idhar. So it's not idhar. You just confirmed that it's not idhar and it's not idgham. And that's the complete answer. So far.
Yeah.
Yes. Alright. Jazakallah khair. The next is Brother Mus'ab.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هل أتاك حديث الغاشية وجوه يومئذ خاشعة عاملة ناصبة تصلى نارا حامية تسقى من عين آنية ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية في جنة عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية فيها عين جارية فيها سرر مرفوعة وأكواب موضوعة ونمارق مصفوفة وزرابي مبثوثة.
Jazakallah khair. A question for you, ayah number 10. The word aliyah.
It should be an idgham without ghunna because it's a tanween, and then if you keep on going then there's a lam after it, so it's a tanween without ghunna because lam is a part of the letters.
Lam is what?
Lam is one of the letters of tanween. Idgham.
Alright, do you agree with him? Everyone agrees? Alright, how would we read it if we don't stop? Can you read both ayat without stopping?
في جنة عالية.
Without stopping?
Oh, that's stopping.
Yeah.
في جنة عالية لا تسمع.
Finish the ayah. read the 2 ayat.
عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية.
Do you agree with the way he read it?
No.
You don't agree with him?
You put the...
You want to try it one more time? Just look at the mushaf. You don't have to look at me. Read the 2 ayat without stopping.
في جنة عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية.
You agree with him? Brother Bassam doesn't agree with him. What's wrong, Brother Bassam?
The noon is still there.
Yeah?
Even if it's not that... It's not his har, but still the noon there.
Brother Hanif? You agree with Brother Bassam? You want to try it one? Convince them. You have to convince them.
في جنة عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية.
It's better, but still, the hint still exists. What do you think?
It sounds okay to me. Unless because I'm too far, I don't know. I think it sounds okay. I was about to give him something. Jazakallah khair, Brother Musab.
That's why the rules of iqaf is here, right?
Say again?
That's why the rules of iqaf is here. So that makes
what rule?
the iqaf نقف عند الآية وجنة عالية عندنا stop and go.
Well, I did mention a couple of weeks ago that the next exercise will be that you are not going to stop. You're going to read the whole thing. And it's kind of challenging. I mean, what is challenging about it is that you will not find, it's hard to find a recording, let's say, of the major reciters that will have the reciter not stop at the ayat. So you may not even know, I mean, for let's say a person who never took Tajweed, he may not even know how to connect these two ayat. Right? And I've seen many people, including people who memorize the whole Quran, during the salah, if one day they decide to join 2 or 3 ayat, they don't know how to do it, and they make mistakes because they never did, and they were not taught that way. Right? So the next exercise, in a couple of weeks, I believe, we'll have to read it without stopping. Take a deep breath and yeah. Jazakallah khair. Next is Brother Nasser.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هل أتاك حديث الغاشية وجوه يومئذ خاشعة عاملة ناصبة تصلى نارا حامية تسقى من عين آنية ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية
يومئذ, I'll have to stop you here.
وجوه يومئذ ناعمة.
What is the ruling in يومئذ? I will let you continue later on, but يومئذ.
يومئذ it's الإدغام. It's preceded by tanween. Yeah. So we should link it to it.
It's not clear to me. Do you agree with him, what he said? It's not complete.
Yes.
You want to try again? Try to explain what the rule is. All right. Anybody wants to help? Yeah, Brother Yahya?
There's a tanween, and then after it is a noon, and that's one of the letters of idgham bi ghanna.
So the rule is?
Idgham bi ghanna.
So are you not sure about the rule?
No.
It is idgham bi ghanna, yes. It is idgham bi ghanna. And Brother Nasser, he knew what the rule was, except the reason I stopped him, because he didn't make it properly. He didn't apply it properly. So here, we want to make sure we make at least 2 harakah, if not more. Right? I mentioned last time that we should make it more so that we fall back to the normal. So, يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاعِمَةٍ يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاعِمَةٍ. Take your time when you say it. Okay, read again from that ayah.
وجوه يومئذ ناعمة.
Longer.
وجوه يومئذ ناعمة.
Longer.
وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية في جنة عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية فيها عين جارية فيها سرر مرفوعة وأكواب موضوعة ونمارق مصفوفة وزرابي مبثوثة.
Jazakallah khair. One thing I noticed when you read and when Brother Abdullah read, and I don't know who else, and I mentioned it last week, the ha at the end, let's try to show it. Right, the ha at the end. غاشية, ناصبة, حامية. Right, let's try to show the ha. And something, if I didn't mention it to Brother Nasser, the tha. هل أتاك حديث. I mentioned it to Brother Abdul Salam last time. I know, I remember. So if I didn't mention it, I wrote it down on your file. And so if I write something on your file, then you will be held accountable not in the day of judgment, but here in the test, in the test coming up. So Brother Absalam, you have a tha in your file, and Brother Nasser, you have a tha and a jim. Some people have more than one letter. So work on it, inshallah. So the ha for everyone, most people, the ha at the end of the ayat, and the tha for a couple of people, the jim for many people here. We have a problem with the jim. We had a long discussion about the jim last time. All right, Jazakallah khair. I guess a couple of people apologized because they had some family members who were sick. Brother Hanif.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هل أتاك حديث الغاشية وجوه يومئذ خاشعة عاملة ناصبة تصلى نارا حامية تسقى من عين آنية ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية في جنة عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية فيها عين جارية فيها سرر مرفوعة وأكواب موضوعة ونمارق مصفوفة وزرابي مبثوثة.
Jazakallah khair. Brother Hanif, the question for you is in ayah number 11, the word laghiyah.
Laghiyah, we have tanween here, but we don't have idhar or idgham here because if we continue then it is followed by ta, which is neither from huruf al-halq or huruf al-idgham.
All right. If we continue, you should mention it at the beginning. The word if we continue, because it makes a difference. So if you say we don't have idhar and we don't have idgham, if we continue, then maybe something else will happen. Right? But actually, if we continue, we don't have idhar or because if we don't, then we are not gonna have a rule. We will not have a tanween in the first place if we don't continue. Jazakallah khair. Brother Bassam.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هل أتاك حديث الغاشية وجوه يومئذ خاشعة عاملة ناصبة تصلى نارا حامية تسقى من عين آنية ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية في جنة عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية فيها عين جارية فيها سرر مرفوعة وأكواب موضوعة ونمارق مصفوفة وزرابي مبثوثة.
Jazakallah khair. We still have a small issue with the jim, Brother Bassam. You have it in your file. And the question for you is in ayah number 2, the word ghashiyah. Khashi'ah, sorry.
So at the end of the word there is tanween.
At the end, where? Where?
At the end of the word.
At the end of the word. All right.
Usually.
As usual. All right.
Just want to emphasize if we continue, it's going to be izhar. Because ain is one of the letters of izhar.
Do you agree with him? Minus the at the end of the word. Minus at the end of the word. You don't need to say at the end of the word.
Yeah.
It has to be, because if it's not at the end of the word, we have a problem. Right? That's the correct answer. Jazakallah khair. Brother Ahmed.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هل أتاك حديث الغاشية وجوه يومئذ خاشعة عاملة ناصبة تصلى نارا حامية تسقى من عين آنية ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية في جنة عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية فيها عين جارية فيها سرر مرفوعة وأكواب موضوعة ونمارق مصفوفة وزرابي مبثوثة.
Jazakallah khair. In ayah number 8, the word na'ima. What do we have?
If we continue, we have tanween, and if we continue, then it's going to be idgham bidun ghunna, because followed after the tanween we have lam, which is part of the letters of idgham bidun ghunna.
Part.
One of the letters.
All right.
Yeah, one.
All right. Do you agree with him? So how would we read it if we would continue? Can you read it? Read it 2 ayat without stopping?
وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية.
So how did he do? Brother Bassam, the opposition.
Aren't we supposed to mention that there is the noon, the before and after?
Before and after.
The noon mushaddada.
The noon at the beginning of. Do we have to mention the noon? It's a good point. In the word. What do we have to? Let's hear what everyone has to say about this. Na'ima. That's the word we are dealing with. Na'ima. Brother Bassam pointed out that we should have mentioned the noon at the beginning of this word. We should have talked about it. Should we have talked about it, Brother Ahmed?
No, we shouldn't have talked about it, because العرب لا تبدأ بساكن. And this is متحرك.
All right.
It's too complicated.
Is it?
What he said is too complicated.
Okay. Okay. What? Anybody wants to comment on that? Yes, Brother Bassam.
So you're asking about the hukum in that specific word?
No, the question was, did we have to talk about the noon at the beginning of that word?
What do you want to say about it? It's not noon sakina, and it's not obviously it's not tanween.
Well, how would you answer this question? I mean, the question is, did we have to talk about the noon or not?
No.
Why not?
Maybe yes, I changed my mind.
You changed your mind?
Maybe
Okay.
yes, yeah, because part of the sentence يومئذ ناعمة. So if you consider the letter before it, then it is
all right. Let me Jazakallah khair. Let me hear what Brother Mustafa has to say, and then.
So you asked about the hukum in the word na'ima.
No, I didn't ask about the. Yeah, originally.
Yeah, originally that's what you
But,
asked. Right?
yeah,
So
but
that's the original question,
yes,
right?
yes,
So
that's
if
the
you're
original.
gonna start talking about the hukum which Ahmed mentioned, that hukum is not the word in the word na'ima. That hukum is in the word yawma idhin. So.
All right. Jazakallah khair. Anybody wants to add something?
I have another question.
The question.
Another question.
You have another question. Let's finish with this, and then. It's already complicated. We don't want to throw in another question. Let's finish with this, and then we'll come back to your question. The question, the last question was, did we need to talk about the noon at the beginning of the word? We didn't have to talk about it. The reason is that noon doesn't have sukun on it. Simple as that. If it had a sukun on it, we would have talked about it. But it didn't have a sukun on it. Now, the comment that was done, the last comment, the second opinion of Brother Ahmed, he had two opinions, like Imam Ahmed. The second comment was not correct because that rule doesn't belong to that word. It belongs to the word before, right? The rule, the idgham you're talking about, belongs to the word yawma'idin. Doesn't belong to the word na'ima. The word na'ima, as far as we are concerned, we only talk about the tanween at the end of it if we continue. Right? Now the question of Brother Nasser.
My question, the word na'ima, it's ended with the word with tanween.
Yes.
And the following word start with the idgham بغير غنة.
Yes.
Which is lam. So why we should mention the tanween in na'ima?
Because
why we shouldn't apply the same rule for idgham بغير غنة?
I thought I got the question, but maybe I missed it at the end.
I mean, I think we shouldn't say the tanween at the end of the word na'im.
We shouldn't say it. You mean you shouldn't pronounce it?
Yeah.
Well, the answer that Brother Ahmed gave earlier, he said that we have a tanween if we continue. And maybe I felt that he was not sure if we should put the word if we continue before this sentence or after. Now that I said it, it seems like we have to put it before because otherwise we don't have a tanween, right? And this is probably pointed out by Brother Nasser. We should have said that if we continue, then we have a tanween followed by lam, and the lam is one of the letters of idgham without the ghunna. This is how it. So we are fixing the answer again, right? And it's interesting to discuss it, and by discussing it, we fix it. So if we continue, then we have a tanween, and the tanween is followed by lam, and the lam is one of the letters of idgham without the ghunna. So the rule here is idgham without the ghunna. Does it answer the question? Yeah. All right, jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair, Brother Ahmed. Brother Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هل أتاك حديث الغاشية وجوه يومئذ خاشعة عاملة ناصبة تصلى نارا حامية تسقى من عين آنية ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية في جنة عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية فيها عين جارية فيها سرر مرفوعة وأكواب موضوعة ونمارق مصفوفة وزرابي مبثوثة.
Jazakallah khair. In ayah number 12, the word aynun.
So we have tanween followed by jim, but jim is not a letter of idhar or idgham, so we don't apply either of those.
Do you agree with him? You heard him?
Correct.
It's correct? So what's the rule?
We don't know it yet.
We don't know.
We don't apply idhar or idgham.
All right. So the rule is not idhar, and it's not idgham. We know that it's not. So, like they say, the Muslims are always saying what Islam is not, right? So we are busy saying what Islam is not. But when we say what Islam is not, we are not really defining what Islam is. Like some groups, some deviant groups, they always tend to say what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not. He's not this, he's not that, he's not this and he's not that. But then they don't say what he is. Because by saying what he's not, you will not necessarily arrive to what he is, right? If he's not all of this, and it's like he doesn't exist, right? The conclusion is that he doesn't exist, right? So here we know, actually, in this particular rule, we know for sure that it's not idhar, and we know that it's not idgham. It's not related to what you said. I'm just saying something different. It just reminded me of that issue. Jazakallah khair, Brother Muhammad. You still have the gene problem, and it's on your file. The gene. Yeah, inshallah. Brother Mustafa, you don't have anything in your file, so let's try to put something.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هل أتاك حديث الغاشية وجوه يومئذ خاشعة عاملة ناصبة تصلى نارا حامية تسقى من عين آنية ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية في جنة عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية فيها عين جارية فيها سرر مرفوعة وأكواب موضوعة ونمارق مصفوفة وزرابي مبثوثة.
Jazakallah khair. Ayah number 16, the word mabthutha.
So mabthutha has a tanween. If we continue, then that tanween will be pronounced. So we'll have a hamza after that, and hamza is from the ahruf of ilhar. So the hukum is ilhar.
Do you agree with him? Anybody disagrees with him?
It's better to say if.
Yeah.
Here you go. If we continue. All right, Jazakallah khair. Brother Abdul Salam.
Is that in my file?
No. It's too long to write. Brother Abdul Salam.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هل أتاك حديث الغاشية وجوه يومئذ خاشعة
Wujuhun, what's the rule in wujuhun?
There is a tanween and followed by a letter of idgham one, so tanween idgham one.
Alright, so how do we say it?
وجوه يومئذ.
Alright, the pronunciation is a little bit there's something that's not right. You are trying to pronounce the ha more than the waw, so more than the ya. So say wujuhui, hui.
وجوه يومئذ.
طيب.
وجوه يومئذ خاشعة عاملة ناصبة تصلى نارا حامية تسقى من عين آنية.
طيب من عين, what's the rule in min? Min. The word min. Idhar. What's the proof?
The tanween followed by the hamza.
You agree with him? No. Anybody agrees with him? You can't find anybody that agrees with you. The word min, I don't think it has a tanween there.
Min or ayn? Sorry, I understand it's ayn.
Min.
Yeah, no, min is different story. Min.
Is Is it different? Okay, what's different about min then?
هذا في إظهار.
إظهار. Why?
Because there is the noon and followed by the ain. Ain is letter from إظهار.
All right. Do you remember how he said it? Did you hear him?
Yeah.
How did he say it?
من عين.
Yeah, the way you said it, you said min aynin. You made it very long, which means that it's wrong.
تسقى من عين آنية ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع وجوه يومئذ
Just remember the way we wrote it down, the way we pronounce it. There's just one ha with one dhamma and then the ya. Wujuhui.
وجوه يومئذ
Hui. Hui.
وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية في جنة عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية فيها عين جارية.
You reading Qalun or you reading Hafs?
قارون.
The Mus'haf that you have, Qalun? Okay, it says لا تسمع.
فيها
لا تسمع.
لا تسمع فيها لاغية.
All right, that's Hafs.
لا تسمع.
Because in Qalun, if you heard other people reciting, لا تسمع.
هاي فتحة. لا تسمع.
All right, that's Hafs then. If it's Qalun, then it's لا تسمع.
هذا مش النص.
All right. Found it here? Kamusin. All right, continue.
فيها عين جارية فيها سرر مرفوعة وأكواب موضوعة ونمارق مصفوفة وزرابي مبثوثة.
طيب, the ayah number 5, the word aniya. What's the rule in the word aniya?
There is a tanween, and if you continue, there is a lam, which is little from الإدغام من غير غنة. So الإدغام غير غنة.
All right, do you agree with him?
If you put the if.
Yeah, put if you continue at the beginning of the sentence. And now, if we ask you to read it, how would you read it? Like the ayah number 5 and 6 without stopping.
5, 6.
Yeah.
تسقى من عين آنية ليس لهم.
Do you want to continue the ayah or?
Can't forget the breath.
All right.
تسقى من عين آنية ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع.
So what do you think? Is it good? You let him go? All right. All right, Jazakallah khair. Brother Yahya.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. هل أتاك حديث الغاشية وجوه يومئذ خاشعة عاملة ناصبة تصلى نارا حامية تسقى من عين آنية ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية في جنة عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية فيها عين جارية فيها سرر مرفوعة وأكواب موضوعة ونمارق مصفوفة وزرابي مبثوثة.
Jazakallah khair. Ayah number 13, the word sururun.
Well, there's a tanween, and then after that is a meme, and that's one of the letters of idgham bi ghanna.
So what do we do?
Idgham bi ghanna.
All right. So how do we read it? Read the ayah one more time.
فيها سرر مرفوعة.
All right. We want you to make it much longer than that.
فيها سرر مرفوعة.
It's good, but a little longer.
فيها سرر مرفوعة.
That's better. Any idgham with the ghunnah, we want to make it this long. And this is for everyone. So whenever we have idgham with ghunna, whenever we have two haraka, make it long. Take your time saying it. Right? Take your time. And the ha at the end, we mentioned this to everyone, and Yahya as well. It was very clear when Yahya was reciting the word ghashiyah, khashi'ah, nasibah. The ha at the end. We need to make an effort so that we know there is a ha at the end. Because otherwise it will sound like this. Ghashiyah, nasibah, amila. It's like there is no ha. So we want to hear the ha at the end. Alright? Jazakallah khair. Baba Abu Yahya.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هل أتاك حديث الغاشية وجوه يومئذ خاشعة عاملة ناصبة تصلى نارا حامية تسقى من عين آنية ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية في جنة عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية فيها عين جارية فيها سرر مرفوعة وأكواب موضوعة ونمارق مصفوفة وزرابي مبثوثة.
Jazakallah khair. Ayah number 3, the word nasiba.
If we don't continue, there's nothing. But if we continue, there's tanween followed by the ta, and the ta is not from ahraf idhar or idgham, ghunna or bghayr ghunna. So there is no idhar or idgham.
MashaAllah. You added something interesting that if we don't continue, we have nothing. Maybe we should add it. We have to make the. We don't get anything if we don't continue. All right. Jazakallah khair. Brother Baghdad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هل أتاك حديث غاشية وجوه يومئذ خاشعة
وجوه
يومئذ خاشعة.
Okay, يومئذ. What is the rule in يومئذ?
يومئذ there is a tanween followed with the letter kha, which is one of the letter of idhar. So in this case, we need to apply for the rule of idhar.
So how do we apply the rule of idhar?
يومئذ. Yeah.
But the way you said it, how did he say it?
You have at least two harakat.
Yeah, you made it too long. You said يومئذ خاشعة. You made it too long. What we want to make long is wujuh. This is what we want to make long.
وجوه يومئذ خاشعة عاملة ناصبة تصلى نارا حامية تسقى من عين آنية ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية في جنة عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية فيها عين جارية فيها سرر مرفوعة وأكواب موضوعة ونمارق مصفوفة وزرابي مبثوثة.
Jazakallah khair. Ayah number 6, the word طعام.
طعام, there is tanween and follow with the hamza, which one of the letter of al-idhar. So in this case, we need to to apply the rule of the idhar.
Do you agree with him?
Yes.
All right. All right. Jazakallah khair. Any questions before we conclude? It's getting interesting now, and there will be, inshallah, more rules coming up in the same ayat, So next week we're gonna. Okay, I'm gonna read it in a minute. I just remembered. Next week we're gonna have the third rule of the Nun Sakin and Tanween, which is al-iqlab, and then after that will be the last rule a week later. The last rule, because it's kind of more difficult. It's the most difficult of the four, so it's going to be divided over 2 weeks because it's a little bit more difficult compared to the other ones. So next week we have the iqlab, and the homework is Surah Al-Humaza. And then we're going to go back to Surah Al-Ghashiyah again for 2 more weeks. So I'm just going to read what you read today and think of questions. If you do have questions, we'll take them before we conclude, inshallah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هل أتاك حديث الغاشية وجوه يومئذ خاشعة عاملة ناصبة تصلى نارا حامية تسقى من عين آنية ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية في جنة عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية فيها عين جارية فيها سرر مرفوعة وأكواب موضوعة ونمارق مصفوفة وزرابي مبثوثة. Any questions before we conclude? All right, جزاكم الله خير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.